Good afternoon. This is SME On Point with me, Liabo Setho. It is the same Friday feature, just with a different name. So as of today, our SME leg of Your Money on Market Sense will be called SME #On Point. This week, our reporter Beatrice Makgwale, working with cameraman Hulisani Livhebe, visited Puleng Motupa In Mankweng, Polokwane. At the age of 25, Motupa started a business that is the pride of his community and helps them put food on their tables.
Entrepreneurship has been labelled as the greatest weapon to fight unemployment, an empowering tool to the youth, especially those from previously disadvantaged communities. Today we're here to meet a 25-year-old entrepreneur who started his business at the back of his home. He is the owner of Motupa Enterprise in Mankweng, just outside Polokwane. Let's go meet him. Puleng Motupa first ventured into business at the age of 19, immediately after completing high school. He says he followed this path after conducting research and decided to start a small enterprise.
My name is Puleng Johannes Motupa. I'm 25 years old and I am the founder of Motupa PJ Enterprise. I started this company in 2014 after doing some researches and found that many companies in South Africa are buying goods from China. So I wanted to be the first to supply most South African companies with the cushions, heat lockers and the pillows.
He learned the basics of manufacturing these products by himself.
I'm a self-taught. I've never been taught by anyone how to sew or how to operate the machine. I just bought my first machine and started teaching myself, and here I am today.
He produces pillows, cushions and heat lockers.
We produce heat locker, which is a slow cooker, a non-electric product that allows the user to finish cooking their meal without the use of electricity. The product saves money, time, quantity of fuel people they use for cooking, and it saves the environment in terms of reducing the high rate of global warming and the emission of gas to the atmosphere. The second, we produce the cushions, the normal cushions for your couches and your beds, and also the pillows, standard pillows, continentals.
His business employs 4 young people from his community.
Then later on, I realized that I need more people to assist me because I was getting more orders from different people from different countries and from different companies. Then I've employed 4 permanently youth. They are working with me, and yeah, we're doing well, and I taught them how to operate the machines and how to sew the products.
Entrepreneurship comes with a lot of challenges. He says lack of funding is the biggest obstacle to business successes.
Lack of funding. As I said, we get so much orders from different companies. We don't have a proper structure, a manufacturing structure where we'll manufacture our products, keep the finished products, and also the transportation vehicle. We use the taxis. Sometimes we get late. We go to the exhibitions. We get our products lost. During rainy day, we're unable to go out because our products gonna get wet and no one's gonna buy them.
Puleng plans to dominate the industry.
My 5 years plan is to supply furniture retailers in South Africa. We've already been contacted by some of them, and yeah, we are supplying them. Even though it's not that big, but yeah, we're getting there, and yeah, we believe that in 5 years' time, we'll be supplying more than 2 or 5 furniture retailers in South Africa.
As always, we encourage you to engage us about our feature. You can send an email at setho@sabc.co.za. We love to hear from you.
Puleng is a good example of an entrepreneur that solves the problem of unemployment in his village while also improving skills development. With me, I have Miranda Simrie. She's the director of the Entrepreneurship Development Academy at GIBS. She's going to chat to us about why entrepreneurs should consider going into the manufacturing sector. Miranda, thank you very much for making time to speak to us. First of all, what do you make of Puleng's story?
I think it's a great story, and we certainly hear a lot of that at the Entrepreneurship Development Academy at GIBS. Like many other young people, I think Puleng is taking the opportunity to create employment not just for himself but for others, and with that trying to solve a challenge for his community, which is access to electricity. So I'm very admirable of his story.
All right. So let's look at the manufacturing sector as a whole. It's the sector that accounts for around 13% of GDP. However, it has a lot of challenges. If we look at the graphic that is on the wall here, it shows us that manufacturing production decreased by 2.4% in Q1 of 2019 when compared to the fourth quarter. And we're looking at the major movers here. Communication, dairy products have gone up, but when we look at down, it's motor parts and accessories as well as footwear. As an entrepreneur, what would encourage one to actually even consider going into the sector, considering the kind of challenges that we see the sector facing?
I think that one thing that could encourage entrepreneurs to get into the sector is, one, the opportunity to differentiate your product from everything else that is available in the marketplace. Two, manufacturing is still considered to be one of those sectors where there's the highest potential to employ other people. And so I think that is an attractive opportunity. And then obviously there's the margins that one can make in manufacturing, which would be very different from for the services sector, for example.
Let's look at the funding challenges. These are the kind of challenges that we see across the board. But because when you look at young people, they often will tell you that I'm struggling to find funding to buy machines such as Puleng. He would probably need more machinery in order to employ more people. Which institutions, financial institutions, can one approach when you are sitting at home and watching us? If you have a pen and paper, which institutions should one approach in order to find financing?
I think Puleng as a young person has a particular advantage. He could go to the NYDA, the National Youth Development Agency. SEFA is available to him, the South African or the Small Enterprise Finance Agency. There's particular support available through SEDA and so on, but I must point out that Puleng is right in that finance is considered to be one of the top challenges for entrepreneurs. However, any retail finance institution and any DFI, a development finance institution, will look at whether the entrepreneur is actually capable of accessing the funding that they have available. And so therefore the development of business skills becomes an imperative.
Yeah. So yesterday we had the Global SME Day as declared by the United Nations General Assembly, and we had two experts in studio who were giving out advice about funding and also marketing and branding. To the best of your knowledge, if I decide to go into manufacturing, how should I package my offering to make it very attractive to my potential customers if I'm manufacturing it?
I think that one aspect to look at is how your offering is differentiated from everything else that is in the marketplace. So Puleng is manufacturing products that are widely available, and so he would have to look at how could he appeal to his market in terms of price, in terms of quality, in terms of consistency of supply. Those are all very important elements when it comes to manufacturing specifically.
Yeah. So Miranda, you've compiled 5 tips for us for entrepreneurs to consider when going into the sector. Let's take a look at the video wall to see the tips, and you take us through them. Tip number 1, you say one must know their market and demand for your product. Tell us about this.
I think that it's easy to introduce a product into the market. It's a lot more difficult when your product isn't required by the market.
Right.
So for any entrepreneurs considering going into manufacturing, I think the first and foremost one needs to establish whether your product is in demand and how you could appeal to your market in terms of your specific product. And again, I'll say the differentiation of the product is very important.
Let's take a look at tip number 2. Tip number 2, it says diversify your client base. How does one do this?
I think Puleng had a good idea to start with his immediate community.
Right.
Now, the immediate community as a customer can become saturated as well. So what he needs to look at next, and he's identified this, is possibly at looking towards retail clients.
Okay.
So larger retailers like shops, maybe corporate clients, look at the corporate gifting space. That may be important or interesting for him. It's important to not be beholden to one segment of the client base, but rather to try and augment your client base constantly.
All right. Miranda, let's take a look at SME tip number 3. I hope our viewers at home are jotting down these tips. Understand payment cycles. What are payment cycles?
So this is important, especially for entrepreneurs who want to supply to big retail chains. You'll find that often a large retailer will require that you provide your product, that you put it on the shelf, but you don't get paid immediately.
Okay.
And so in some cases, your payment cycle could be up to 60 to 90 days. That for a small business can be quite inhibiting.
It can.
And can kill your cash flow even while you're trying to make money.
That's true. SME tip number 4. That would be inventory management, which is critical. Tell us about this.
Particularly for manufacturing businesses, inventory management is important. So what you don't want to be doing is having all of your inventory on your shelf, because obviously that is cash flow that is sitting there that you're not using. So what you're wanting to do is to plan your manufacturing cycle to coincide with the demand for your product, so that ultimately you're not sitting with your product on your shelf, but it is on the shelf of your customer.
Yeah. And finally, SME tip number 5. That would be consistency and quality. And you say in brackets, set and maintain standards. How do I do this?
Puleng will find that if he goes to large retailers, one of the key issues for them would be whether there are quality standards, whether he is maintaining those quality standards, and whether he can supply them in terms of the standards that they require. So whether there's consistency of supply. What you need to do is to find out what are the standards that your customer is requiring, and try to meet and deliver and exceed, obviously, those standards, because ultimately he'll be competing with lots of others like him.
Miranda, thank you very much for your time. I hope that our viewers at home have enjoyed your insight, as well as the 5 tips that we've given them if they're considering going into the manufacturing sector. That was Miranda Simrie. She's the director of the Entrepreneurship Development Academy at GIBS, and she was our guest today on SME #On Point. After the break, we have the books On Point with Anastasia Arenza, and she has a guest with her, and you will want to listen to this one.